Hello there guys and welcome, it's Niran here, and today it is time for a new series. Now this is going to be cool. We've got a Grid Autosport walkthrough, of course. This is Friday, June the 27th. I actually had to look at a clock there to check the date for some reason, but still, this is the date of Grid Autosport coming out. I got it this morning, went into my local town and bought the game. To be honest, I played this game and I actually really like it. It's a lot better than Grid 2 was. I have a much stronger affinity to it than I did when I first got Grid 2. As you can see, I'm just setting up the difficulty and such. Like, I'm going to go for hard AI difficulty, and this just brings me on to something. As you can see in the title, this is called Your Career, Your Walkthrough, or whatever I've chosen to call it. But the key word is your. Literally anything you want me to do in this entire series, just go for it. I'm obviously going to have to do something this episode, or else it'll be quite a boring one. So in the end, I chose open wheel to start, to go for season 1 and to start my career. But if there's any discipline you want me to do at all, put it in the comment section. Any camera angles you want me to change, any difficulty you want me to change, whether it be the AI difficulty or whether you want me to change the assists, absolutely anything you want me to do. Even team offers, even down to team offers or season changes. I'll obviously do like a little poll or a little comments thing, so you can choose what season I go into. But before we start, we're going to get into a highlight sort of reel of the first race. Now, I didn't particularly want to show you the whole thing, otherwise it would be quite a long video. This series is going to be about 15 to 20 minutes long, each video about 12 to 15 minutes long. Obviously, the first race you do is around the Hockenheim ring in the Category B touring car. I'm driving a Raven West Audi, and the first action would be me being punted by an Oakley Mercedes into a Monster Energy Audi, which is a little bit disappointing. I didn't really want to take someone out on the first lap. Nevertheless, we then made a pretty clean move this time on Sophie Muller. Really interesting they've added female drivers. It's a small thing, but it makes things a lot more realistic. Anyway, I then made it up into 7th place, and we then managed to find this massive gaggle of Kicker cars, K&N cars, ultimately a Raven West car at the front and a Oakley car as well. A lot of contact going on. But seeing as it's touring cars, that is expected. And then something happened. I don't know why. One of the Raven West cars decided to brake extremely early for the corner. That promoted me up into 4th place through the first corner. Of course, this is a 2-lap race. We then managed to get past the K&N Mercedes there for a podium position. Going into the final few corners, and we managed to lunge up the inside of Alex Coates and Andrei Kokorev. But through these few corners, and it looks as if we were going to win the first race. Obviously, I'd done a few practice races before this, but we then went wide, understeered hugely off the track, and they both went back through the K&N car. We managed to stick it around the outside of the Oakley car, being Andrei Kokorev. It would be a win, though, for Alex Coates. It would be a run to the line for second. We did manage to just about hold on for second. Disappointing since we were leading going through the last few corners, but that is how it stayed. Nevertheless, that was the first race. I didn't really want to show you it all. It would be a little bit too time-consuming. But anyway, this is my decision, and I decided to go for the IBAC series in the Formula C category. I'm just going to warn you guys, the AI are mental in this category. On Category C, or the Formula C cars, the AI are ridiculous. I also decided to choose Razor Motorsport, because their livery was quite good, and their expectations weren't quite as high and unrealistic. So we will be starting from the back. Again, this is something, if you want me to change, I don't really mind. I am going to be doing no qualifying, so I will be starting from the back. Makes things a little bit more interesting, but starting off our first race here at Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi. The next race will be in Canada, Mont LeBlanc or something like that, I can't remember. But there was a crash at the first corner, would you believe it? And that actually promoted me up into 7th place. We then tried to go around the outside of Evan Kennedy in the Kicker car, and it actually managed to come off. These cars are very loose in terms of handling as well on this first lap of the 4, and we were somehow up to 5th. From the back of the grid. Very lucky, to be quite honest, because that's not going to happen every race. But in this Razor Motorsport car, up into 5th from the back. Again, if you guys want me to change that, if you want me to start doing qualifying, leave a comment in the comment section, and I can quite easily do that. I just thought it was a little bit more entertaining, coming from the back. The first episode, or the first race, sorry, the next episode, I won't be able to implement the changes you want, because I've already recorded it, but the rest of it I haven't, so I'll be able to change things halfway through that for those guys that want a little bit of change up in this series. But I went a little bit deep into that little fast chicane that they've got on this Yas Marina. I think it's at the North Circuit, one of the national circuits, not quite the full circuit of the GP. For that race around here, we're just following Pau Jimenez. I think he's in a Forge Motorsport car, I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out when we get a little bit closer, but a big slide there through the last corner. But yeah, anyway, just to talk about this game whilst there's no battling going on quite yet. I really enjoy this game. To be honest, the AI are a lot funner than they were on Grid 2, and in terms of the handling, it's very much different. It is a lot more simulator-like as Grid 2 suggested that it would be. It's not obviously your full simulator. It's not like Forza as we get very close now to the back of Pau Jimenez. He's in that Cusco Motorsport car. I couldn't remember the name of this team for so long, but we're now all over the back of him and surely going to set up a move up the inside of him, down into the hairpin, and we get that move stuck, or do we? Yes, just about hitting the apex, and now that moves us back up into 4. No reply really there from Pau Jimenez on the exit of the corner. But just going back to the handling quickly of this game, it's not a full simulator like Forza or Gran Turismo or like Assetto Corsa or anything where R Factor as we get a penalty for going over the white lines. I need to mention that as well in a second. But yeah, the handling is very good. It's very good. These little cars are very fun to drive because they get out of shape a lot, but not ridiculously so. Like it's you know, they're a bit of a handful to drive, but that's part of the challenge. The penalty system has been refined hugely since people got the early access. I mean, you only get punished now about half a second, I would say, compared to, you know, literally 2 or 3 seconds as it was on early access. But nevertheless, now on to the third lap of this 4. As you can see as well, you can now touch the D-pad, press buttons on the D-pad to find out vehicle condition, where your rival is, where your teammate is and how he's doing, and all sorts of things. And of course you can also tell your driver what to do, whether to push, whether to be defensive, or whether to hold, or whether to just be balanced, which is really nice, almost like team orders. It's brilliant. Interesting seeing as you're not actually the team manager, but we'll just bypass that. It's still good. Anyway, we're now starting to catch Sophie Muller in the Forge Motorsport Formula C Dallaras. The car list on this is brilliant, so I won't talk about this game like as much as I am now in all the episodes. Each episode will probably have 2 or 3 rounds in, I would say. It's all going to sort of fit in nicely with the end of the season, of course. So the second half of the season will probably be in the next episode, and then I'll start the second season. And obviously you can tell me what I should be doing, but still, yeah. Yeah, I won't be talking about this as much. It'll be, you know, about 15 minutes long and blah blah blah. Also, I'll be putting in the full race. I won't be doing highlights like I did for the first race that we had in the Category B touring cars. But nevertheless, on this final lap of the race, Raven West have taken off as per usual at the front, and we are now all over the back of Sophie Muller, the female driver in this Forge Motorsport car. I do believe she's German. They're trying to get around the outside in this Razor car, but that's not going to happen. Offline onto the marbles there, almost a little bit of contact as she braked mid-corner, and then a big slide, a big snap of oversteer as well through the next part of the chicane. And now looking, we're going to make a lunge up the inside. Of course, contact is very much a no-no in this class. I have done various races in terms of, well, I've done a few races in practice for this, and the slightest amount of contact will give you either steering damage or suspension damage, pretty much like it is in real life. It's really quite realistic in that sense. But we are now absolutely all over the back of Sophie Muller. We're going to try surely and make a move down into this last corner as a little bit of a last-ditch attempt for the podium position. We're not going to get any higher than that. Raven West have taken off at the front. We go up the inside, a nice clean move, just about hit the apex, definitely hit the bollard on the inside, and we push Sophie Muller just a little bit out wide. We're going to claim third then in this first race of this season, not our first race obviously. So far we claim second in that in the Category B DTM styly thing, but we've got third place here in our first race in Season 1 in the Formula C cars. Yet again, very, very fun to drive. Here is how things stand then. This is the race results. Rick Scott and Aaron Wesley winning there for Raven West. We come third there in front of Sophie Muller and Pau Jimenez. Our teammate was down in 14th place and our rival was down in last place. There is how the standings look at the moment. We are, of course, in third. It's going to be exactly the same as the first result was. And our teammate Tommy King there down in joint 13th there for Razor with no points, unfortunately. So we register all of our points in the team standing. As you can see, we are second. A long, long way, though, however, behind Raven West. And now we're going to get into the second race of this episode and the final race of this episode, but the second race here in this event at Abu Dhabi. We've got the lights off now and we are ready to go to Tobias Fischoff again, our rival this weekend, the Austrian, in that Intel Motorsport, I think it is. They've got some pretty decent sponsors, it has to be said. Pretty bad start. We're going to just sort of back off down into turn 1 and there's an accident. There's a lot bigger even than the last one, and we've slammed into the back of someone. I think we've actually taken someone's wheel off, did we there? I'm not entirely sure. I think we may well have done, and a little bit of contact there as well. We get pushed out wide there by Juan Ruiz, it is, in the Liquimoli car, and a very much, well, not a disastrous start to things, but not very neat and tidy compared to last time. Slammed into the back there of one of the cars and ended up getting involved in that pile. This is something that you will have to get used to. You're going to buy this game and you're going to drive a lot of Formula C. Get ready for a lot of pile-ups at the first corner, because this happens a lot. That's 2 races now out of 2 in this event where we've ended up getting involved. Well, To be fair, we didn't get involved in the one in the first race, but we certainly was involved in that one, and we find ourselves 5th. We have made up the 11 places, so we can't really complain about that, but still in 5th place with a decent amount of damage to the steering, and unfortunately it might take a little bit of effort now to catch Leo Turner in the Team Kicker Dallara car. But going on to the start-finish straight for the second time technically, if you're going to count the first lap was the first time, but nevertheless we're going to start the second lap here. That's the main point of this scenario. We are still actually catching the guy in front of Leo Turner in that kicker car. As you can see, you can also select the objective status as well, because obviously you've got team sponsors and such like, team sponsors objectives and the team objectives. So you have the team objectives, which are to do with finishing in various positions in the championship and through various events, and then you have the sponsor objectives, which are a lot more specific, and they're to do with like top speeds and various things like that, and beating one random team at some stage during the season. As you can see, the field is very split up due to the minimap, on the minimap due to that accident at the start. That's another thing. The disciplines are very characteristic of the way they are in real life. So in terms of open wheel, you do get a lot more spread out racing. You do tend to get a lot more gaps, whereas in touring cars, you do get a lot, and I mean a lot of people in a very short space of track. It's very, very compact. Meanwhile, we've actually managed to catch these two team kicker cars. Leo Turner, is it Evan Kennedy from Northern Ireland in the other one? If I've taken note properly. But still, now moving on to the penultimate lap of the race, we're actually catching Leo Turner. Somehow, with this steering damage we have, and suspension damage as well, due to that accident at this exact point on the first lap. I don't know who we hit, but I think we may have actually taken someone out. Who is at the back? That looks like Freddie Walker. We may have hit Freddie Walker and ripped his wheel off, because it did look as if we'd caused either a puncture or some sort of real wheel rippage. But nevertheless, is that a phrase? I've never heard that before. But still, we're now all over like a Leo Turner. We're going to make a move of the inside down into the hairpin. We do, but I think we've outbraked ourselves, not quite as clean as we did it on Sophie Muller. No, was it Sophie Muller? No, it was the guy in the Cusco Motorsport car. I can't remember what his name was now, but still, we've dropped back down into 5th place. He just took the undercut, basically. We just outbraked ourselves, got out onto the marbles, out onto the AstroTurf or onto the runoff area on the outside, and we've really quite outbraked ourselves down into there. As you can see, a lot of sliding, a lot of oversteering, a lot of corrections going on as well, so that's very characteristic of these cars. But nevertheless, on the penultimate lap of the race, coming down into the last few corners at the moment, still hunting down these two team kicker cars. Whether we'll be able to get past them or not is beyond me, but another podium is certainly on the cards here, and it'll still surely maintain 3rd in the championship even if we finish here, I think, because I don't think either of the two team kicker cars did very well in the first race. Rick Scott is yet again winning. What a surprise. We've got up the inside though, down into turn 1, and that is a nice clean move past Leo Turner. We've got a bit of a gap though up to Evan Kennedy. Looks about 2.5 seconds, so that might be quite hard to move up, but still, I've seen other people do this series and do walkthrough series, mainly people like Alex Zaffro, and I think he may have put it on either hard or very hard, but I'm not entirely sure. I may well have to put the difficulty up to very hard. Again, if you want to see that, tell me in the comments section and I can cater for your opinions. After all, this is your career mode. But still, we now move on to the back straight here on the final lap of this one. It doesn't particularly look as if we're going to catch Evan Kennedy. Certainly not all over the back of him like we were Sophie Muller in the first race. And yeah, so I think we may well just have to hold on to 4th. We should be able to stay in front of Leo Turner as long as there's no sort of accidents, incidents, mistakes or random corner cutting penalties, which I don't think will lose us enough time to lose our 4th place at the moment. But it's going to be a Raven West 1-2 yet again as we get a lot of understeer there down into the 3rd to last corner, through the penultimate corner there, King, and now through the last corner. It looks as if we're going to take 4th. Not as much oversteer through that last corner as we've been getting throughout the series so far, but across the line we come to take 4th place. A podium then in our first race and 4th in the second. A pretty decent day's work, to be honest there. I think we may actually have got fastest lap of the race, which actually incidentally gives you an extra point. It's quite realistic. Qualifying on pole gives you 2 extra points, and getting fastest lap gets you 1, so that's really cool. We get 4th though with the fastest lap of the race. This is where we stand in the standings though. 3rd place, Tommy King, our teammate, getting 4 points, then now 40 points off the leaders, and quite a long way behind ourselves. I can't unfortunately read that on the tiny little preview I have, but I can see that we are 3rd in the team standings now on 33. But nevertheless, I'm hoping you've enjoyed this first episode of the Grid Autosport Career Mode walkthrough. I'm really going to enjoy this series. It is again your career mode series, so if there's anything you want me to change, feel free to leave in the comment section there, as we get some XP and some rewards there for passing our objectives from the team and from sponsors. But nevertheless, I hope you have a brilliant day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.